The wisdom of the Tao, of the Incan shamans, of the yogis, they're really teaching us how to transform the energy that lives within our physical body, within our mind, within the mental body, and the energy body, the emotional body, and the heart space. And so when we connect with these practices, we're really connecting with the rhythm, the vibration of nature. And for me, when I'm online or I'm in a business meeting or I'm working with someone, sometimes I can feel myself becoming depleted or maybe having a little excess energy that may be expressing itself through anger, frustration, anxiety, right? And it's like, how can I soothe that? How can I bring myself back into balance so that I can show up as my best self and really be effective?
Welcome to Warriors at Work. This is Jeannie Coomber, your guide and host. Warriors at Work is a place where everyone in the workplace can come together, gain insight, encouragement, tell stories, connect, and share wisdom. We are a place of like-minded people at different stages of life, all coming together with a shared interest of enlightening and inspiring one another. If you're interested in going from the predictable to the potent, and you want to find your warrior magic, step into the journey with us. Welcome to Warriors at Work.
Hey everybody, it's Jeannie. Thank you so much for joining me here at the Warriors at Work podcast. My next guest, Nina Crist, is someone who has 20 years studying and living martial arts, learning the essence of styles like karate, aikido, jiu-jitsu, tai chi, qigong, kung fu, just to name a few. She's also a yoga teacher. She is also a shaman, and she has deep expertise and understanding energy and its impact on leadership. In this conversation, we break down how she has married all of those skills as a martial arts practitioner, as a yogini, as a shaman, as a healer, to help leaders understand their energy so they can have more impact. They can create a different team dynamic, a different culture. This is a conversation that takes a different approach to the leadership conversation. I hope you get a couple of things that makes you create some pause before your next meeting or your next interaction, and also leaves you with some insights that you can share back with people on your team. Enjoy. Welcome to the Warriors at Work podcast. This is Jeannie Coomber, your guide and host, and I cannot wait to bring this conversation to you. We are talking with Nina Crist. Nina, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you for inviting me, and really, really looking forward to sharing with your community.
What's so interesting about Nina, and what you're going to pick up very quickly about this conversation, is we're using the word energy a lot, and that is a central theme to this conversation. It's very deliberate, and it's a word that's thrown around a lot. But in the workplace, we use it more as like, oh, I'm in low energy or I'm in high energy today. But we don't really use it in a way to understand different styles, how we show up, and how we interact with one another. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Nina. And then, Nina, I'm going to ask that you introduce yourself on the things that really resonate with you. So here's a couple of highlights from her background that are just so fascinating. So for 20 years, she has studied martial arts, everything from karate, aikido, jiu-jitsu, tai chi, qigong, kung fu. That just scratches the surface. She also has earned a title of young master. She's also been a luminary presenter at Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health. She has also received numerous levels of yoga training, and she's a graduate of the Jaguar path of training in yoga and shamanism. And she brings all of this wisdom forward and does a lot of work with leaders in the workplace. So, Nina, when I say all that about you, I would love for you to tell us, how do you describe yourself?
Thank you, Jeannie. I feel the practices, these wisdom practices that have touched my life so deeply and really shaped me into the person that I am today, allow for me to really step into my power and my grace. And through this feeling my power and feeling the grace, I feel like I can move through life with much more ease than I was able to before I connected with the practices. And as you were mentioning, I did graduate from the school of the Jaguar path, yoga and shamanism. My husband's the founder of the school, and together we run the school. So now we are sharing not only yoga and shamanism, but also the martial arts practices, and weaving in really the parallels between these different cultures around the world, and really trying to get these messages directly to the people. And for me, it's the influencers. I want to connect these wisdom practices with the influencers in our community, so we can really feel the positive ripples move into the families, to the individuals, to our systems that really are needing that love and nourishment.
So let's talk about those parallels, because you've been able to really pull together all of these years of experience in martial arts, in yoga and shamanism into the creation of training programs for executive leaders. So tell us a little bit about those intersection points, and talk to us about, okay, why is this important for executive leaders?
As each of us as leaders, we know that we're human, and we come from our home, and we hop online these days, and we're needing to transition quickly between meetings, between perhaps children or relationships or animals or whatever's coming up, whatever's happening in life. And the parallels between the practices of shamanism, yoga, and martial arts, these practices are here to support us, but ultimately they are part of us. And the wisdom of the Tao, of the Incan shamans, of the yogis, is they're really teaching us how to transform the energy that lives within our physical body, within our mind, within the mental body, and the energy body, the emotional body, and the heart space. And so when we connect with these practices, we're really connecting with the rhythm, the vibration of nature. And for me, when I'm online or I'm in a business meeting or I'm working with someone, sometimes I can feel myself becoming depleted, or maybe having a little excess energy that may be expressing itself through anger, frustration, anxiety, right? And it's like, how can I soothe that? How can I bring myself back into balance so that I can show up as my best self and really be effective and model these practices, model my best self as I'm showing up for my family, for my loved ones, but also for the mission that I've chosen to call my own, which is my work. And that's where I see these coming together. Ultimately, each of these practices teach us how to transform energy. So whatever's going on within our heart, within our body, within our mind can be transformed to be really effective, productive, positive, and ultimately not miss a beat, not let it kind of take time or energy away from what we love.
The transform word is really interesting to me, because I think that's a really important word, particularly over the course of the last year. I would love for you to give us like some texture. So when someone, I know you do a lot of group work. You've also done one-to-one work with people. So give us an idea of what this looks and feels like. So I'm an executive leader. We meet, we decide that we're going to work together, or I'm a part of a group. So give us some idea of what this looks and feels like.
When I start with a new client, with a new team, we start just kind of saying, okay, life is energy in motion, right? So how are you connecting with your own energy? What's your sensitivity to your own energy within your mind, your intuition within your heart, and then kind of the vibe that's going, like, surging through your body? Whether, like, again, is that joy? Is that fear? Like, what's happening?
All the above, all the above at any given time. Yeah,
exactly, and changing. And so I really look at it as like, okay, who are you influencing? How is your energy influencing the people in your life? Whose energy are you influenced by on your team? And how are you energetically influencing your team or your client? And what practices are you connecting with? And that may not be yoga, martial arts, or shamanism. It may be having your cup of tea. It may be going out for a walk, or putting on YouTube. What is it that you utilize to transform your energy, to balance yourself, to kind of come back into feeling like you? I know connecting with people, but I'll speak for myself. It's like I'll read an email, and sometimes the email can be really charged. And we talk about our words. We're either offering blessings or we're casting spells. And what I mean by that is when you receive an email, it might just be a one-liner, but man, can it pack a punch. And that charge can really throw you off. And now you've got to jump online and you're in a meeting. And so it's like, how do you utilize your breathing? How do you utilize a simple movement and really begin to transform that energy? Because each expression of life, each thought, each action, each interaction offers an imprint. And that imprint can be really beautiful, and it can be really uncomfortable depending on the exchange. And so we're looking to transform that. So I think of like, okay, it's like, here, Jeannie, catch this, right? I just had a bad moment. So I'm like, well, Jeannie, blah, right? And I throw this ball of energy at you and you receive that, and it can feel overwhelming. But if you're aware that you just got thrown a ball of fear, anxiety, joy, whatever the energy vibe is, you now just received this gift, and it's up to you to transform it. It's up to you to contribute that energy to the team, to the family, whatever aspect of life that you're kind of wearing the hat for, and transforming that to be productive, to feel it in your body. And we do it all the time with food, right? We eat something and we digest it, we extract all the goodness, and then we release the matter. And in our shaman tradition, they say, hey, Mother Earth loves our fertilizer. They love the compost, because then she receives that and gives us back fruits and vegetables and beautiful flowers. And so when we get to a place where we can start to do that in our day-to-day, in our workplace, instead of taking things personally, saying, oh, wow, maybe Jeannie just threw a ball at me. And it's like, oh, she trusts me. She trusts that I'm going to transform that for the betterment of the group, for the team, for the client. And so we start to look at, when I step into a boardroom or I step into a new group, I hop on a call, it's like, okay, who's moving whose feet? Am I allowing my feet to be moved? Or am I intentionally guiding the group? Maybe through silence, through conscious listening, perhaps through stabilizing my breath. And even online, we can start to affect the entire group by just slowing down the breath and having it conscious and intentional. If I'm not aware of my breath and I'm starting to feel my heart rhythm increase and my mind starts going off, like someone said something and I'm not present. I'm not hearing the rest of what's said, because now my energy is in my mind and I'm letting it kind of take me for a ride, right? So having an increased sensitivity and awareness is such a huge gift we can give ourselves. And when we start to kind of peel back the layers of, I'll say, old ways of showing up for ourselves and for our teams, when we start to peel back those layers, it's amazing what's underneath, because ultimately the intentions are good. The intentions are to contribute. Everyone's showing up in the best way that they can. And instead of being insulted, upset, saying like, wow, like so-and-so must, something's up, having compassion for our team members and starting to see them as individuals, as humans, as mothers, as sisters, as wives, as community members, and saying, okay, how can I offer support and model transforming that energy so the rest of the team can be inspired to start doing the same.
That is so beautiful, the way you just described that. I mean, the thing that absolutely strikes me, three things: the blessing and the curses. I mean, that is tough to recognize it for what it is. And then the other thing is that someone's giving you the opportunity to transform the energy. So you're given a choice. What do I want to do with this now? Do I want to keep going down the spell lane? Or do I want to contribute some positivity, some optimism to change this dynamic? God, does that resonate with how you frame that? And the thing that I'm also curious about, because I'm sure you see this a lot, is people that come to you, and again, I'm a part of a group where I'm like, I'm not what do you mean? I'm not following this. We have to be production oriented. We have to execute. We have goals and milestones that we must live. There's deliverables, like they're almost hammering the desk where they might challenge that idea or that framework. What would you say there?
I would say that when we can relax, when I relax into just knowing that I've got it, I've done all the work. I just need to show up. And when that hammer hits, you ride that vibration and let that hammer hitting be your fuel. Like, I might not have slept last night. I pulled an all-nighter. I got the deadline, and now I'm here, and I'm like, okay. So thank you for hitting that hammer, because I can now ride that line of energy, and I can allow that energy to inspire me to kind of take it to that next level, right? Instead of feeling that hammer hit and being like a ripple that makes me cringe, or that makes it like, oh, there he goes again. That's what so-and-so does. Now, even if I don't say it, I'm thinking it. And even over Zoom, believe it or not, that is felt. It is seen. We're not invisible. We're not hiding. We are right here, and everyone is connected. And the space and time is such an illusion, right? And we know it, because when you get off of an awesome meeting, are you not jazzed? Are you not enthused and inspired to be like, oh my gosh, let me get on top of that? Like, I know exactly how I want to shape it. I want to transform this new way of being, or I can just like, bam, 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 take care of those to-dos, and then like go out and take a few deep breaths, or, whatever it is that you love to do. Go do that, because that is, to me, it's like being productive is like the best medicine. And not in a push way, but in a, hey, let's get into the flow. And that's where the creativity comes. And it may be numbers, it may be data. That's magic. Like, watching the data transform to me is like so satisfying.
Wow. Are you a surfer? Because when you said
Yes.
ride that vibration, that was right where my brain went. It's like, oh, it's like surfing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's really important on the message that I'm hearing from this is, just because it came at you yucky doesn't mean that you have to in turn give it back out yucky.
Right on.
You can really change the dynamics of this to create a different experience for those around you. One of the things that you said when we were preparing for this, and I just want to look at how you characterize it. You said the art of war.
Yes.
And you were also talking about it in terms of warriorship. So obviously, this is the Warriors at Work brand. So tell us about this idea of the art of war and warriorship.
So I brought my little pocket. So I'll just say real quick, I came to Costa Rica a year ago and didn't know I'd be staying, but I did bring my Art of War, where I bring everywhere with me, by Sun Tzu. This cute little book is got so much wisdom in it. And it's not, the art of war, it doesn't mean like war is acceptable and that we need to go around. I think of each other as brothers and sisters, and that really helps soften. We're not strangers, we're not colleagues, we're brothers and sisters. And that really, for me, just brings a shift. And again, I'm going to reference these practices because that's really what I believe in. And if it resonates for you, any piece of it resonates for you, then extract that. Anything that doesn't, disregard it and let that be your truth. So as we're moving through life, the Taoists believe that we want to allow our rivers within, our energy channels within, to become crystal clear. And so as we're moving, we have anger, and that has a bit of a green hue. We have fear, and we have fear that's kind of like a bluish hue. We start to kind of muddy the waters when we have all these emotions. And when we have a thought, it just fuels that emotion. It's just like letting it kind of like get bigger and bigger and expand and become more than we maybe can even manage. So the art of war says, okay, if you're thinking a negative thought, I can't do it, I don't have enough time, so-and-so, da-da-da, right? Like this kind of almost falling into this victim role, that mindset is going to absolutely be manifested. And so when we connect with the Tai Chi, which is a style of martial arts, it's very powerful. It looks like it's called the ancient dance, and it's a very powerful, actually, martial arts way of, it's moving meditation, but it helps you transform the energy. When we can start to transform that energy and kind of show up and say, okay, each thought I'm creating is allowing for that person, my reflection is my team. They're reflecting my internal world back to me. And so if I have this sensation of defeat, then you're going to just feed that, and you're going to basically tell me I'm already defeated. If I have the mindset of success and creativity and enthusiasm, my team is going to reflect that back to me. So the art of war goes into all the dynamics and strategies about how to really have an awareness of my opponents, my team members, my clients, and how can I strategically move through life with intention, and through that intention have discernment. It's like, I'm not going to use this much energy. Like, I'm not going to use this huge deposit of energy to accomplish a small task, right? You want the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
So Sun Tzu's work is not about going to war, which I think is, I'm saying it because it's really often misunderstood. It's about preventing war. And it's coupled with the art of peace by Master Yeshiva. And so we have the art of peace and we have the art of war. And we find this balance of really transforming the energy. Is the energy that's coming at me excessive? As it's coming at me, am I going to absorb it? Like I was saying, like absorb that energy deposit and then guide it and then like redirect and bring it back? Am I going to redirect that energy and let it pass by me? How am I going to meet? Am I going to meet it head on with force? Depending on how I respond to the energy coming at me, the comment, the attitude, the tone, the eye roll, right? Whatever it is, how I respond is going to determine the outcome. So if I absorb it and then I don't transform it and I just like kind of swallow it and then I sit there and then I kind of feel like I leave the meeting and my stomach's kind of in a knot and I feel like, oh, right? Then how am I gonna accomplish my projects? How am I gonna show up to my next meeting? That is gonna be really telling of how I responded to whatever the challenge was. And at the same time, how am I responding to the successes? Take it in. Don't redirect the success.
Yeah.
Don't deflect the success. Take that in, feel it, honor it. What led to that moment of success, that project, like just rocking, and how can I replicate that? How can I leverage that and optimize the impact?
Oh, I love that. Because one of the things that we were also talking about is this idea of the leadership styles is yielding, forging, pinpointing, redirecting. So you were talking a little bit about the redirecting. So talk to us about this. Where does this come from and how do you apply it?
It comes from, I'm just going to laugh for a moment because it all comes from nature. Right? All comes from nature. Nature is our biggest teacher, and that's how martial arts was developed. That's how yoga was developed in shamanism. It's believed that, and it's said that we have heaven, we have earth, and we have man. And it is believed that we're animated earth. And so every one of us is made up. Our physical vessels, our sacred divine containers are made up the same matter as the rocks and the trees and all of this. So here we are, we're moving through life. And as we're moving through life, we're connecting with these different vibrations of the wind, the sun, the water, right? That's why it feels so good to jump in the ocean. It feels so good to connect with the sun. It's just like, oh, like we say sunbathing. Last night I was moonbathing because I had a little bit more masculine energy than I wanted. And I needed the feminine of the moon to just soften and nourish me. Being here in Costa Rica and the yang, the sun energy can be really intense. And I'm already on the computer, which is light, which is sun, which is yang energy. And if I get into that too much, then I'm kind of like, I'm evaporating the feminine, the water quality within me, which is really creative and receptive and supportive and nourishing, right? So I want to have a balance of these two components within me. And so where we come back into feeling like the root is coming into these, for me, Tai Chi is just amazing. Where we start to we literally start moving our feet and stepping out of one coordinate into the next. So if we think of the world as a 3D matrix, if I sit in the same spot all the time and I have an argument in that spot, I have joy in that spot, I have writer's block in that spot. I have anything. If I don't move out of that spot, then I will become stagnant, just like right? It's going to pool up and stagnate. So I need to step out of that coordinate, change my clothes, splash some water on my face, eat something to change my energy, put on some music, and really, really realign myself. And if I'm not aligned with my true self, really connecting the heart to the mind, if that isn't synced up, then it kind of all falls apart. And I know for myself, when I'm on, I know when I'm on. And when I'm off, I feel it. And when I'm off, how do I get back online? How do I get back aligned with my true self? And these wisdom practices are the tools that allow it to become a lot more easeful without having to struggle.
Yeah, well, what's powerful about it is they're really simplistic labels that have a lot of meaning. So when I think of yielding, forging, pinpointing, and redirecting, I mean, they're very much attributes and behaviors that we see in the workplace all of the time. And how you just characterize, I thought was really, really interesting. I'm curious, which leadership style do you interact with most? Like what are some common themes that you see in working with leaders?
Mm-hmm. One of the common themes that I have been seeing most recently is a theme of feeling like when they show up to their team, they need to wear a certain hat and almost be in a role, and like almost like think of like playing a character.
Yeah.
And feeling like if I am not in that role, it will all fall apart. People need me to be in that role. And I get that. And I agree with that. I mostly work with people that are in high level positions that have teams of people that are really impacted by their energy. And like I said at the beginning, I really like to work with influencers. I like to see the work that I do have a larger impact, and that just really satisfies me. And so when I look at leaders that are kind of struggling in their personal life and then stepping into a role and feeling like I have to be this, what I find is there's a rigidity in that, and it's not intentional. I almost feel like it's by default. It's almost like there's like this enthusiasm and this drive, and then there's a time where you find yourself in this high position of leadership. Each word has a ripple. Each moment of being present for the team has an impact. And so even if what got you to that place was your authentic self, somewhere along the way, it's like that was misunderstood, that it had to be that part of you got stripped. And I say that the more authentic we can be, the more powerful we can be. And to really, I find effective leaders adopt the principle of less is more. Fewer words, fewer actions, stillness and stability, groundedness, and the power of relaxing into action through non-action, which I know I just almost feel it, like your mind kind of like, not yours, but it like almost doing gymnastics, like, well, how can that be possible?
Yeah.
We'll try it and then let me know. Because when we stop and we don't keep meddling and sending another follow-up email and then letting so-and-so know and letting so-and-so know, it's like, well, what would happen if we just let the energy settle and see how it is tomorrow? Maybe it resolves itself on its own.
Well, maybe they didn't need to involve you in the first place. So
Exactly.
I can attest to that. You're like, I didn't do anything, and this resolved itself beautifully. Oh, so talk to me about what you think the relationship is between emotions and energy.
Emotions are energy in motion. Emotion. Emotions live in the body, and they're excreted from each of the organs. And the emotion that we're feeling is an expression of one of our energy channels being blocked or open. If the energy channel is blocked, we're going to feel a heavy energy. If it's open, we're going to feel a lightness and a more ease. And so through the breathing practices, through meditation, through connecting with nature, through Tai Chi, we open the channels, we open the rivers within. And that's, again, kind of reflecting back to that crystal clear waters within. When there's a lot of blockages, you think of like a beautiful flowing stream and you could like drink right out of it, ideally. And then you come across like kind of like a sludged up, stagnant, like pooled up, like, don't touch it. You're with a child. You're like, don't touch it. Don't go near it. Don't, like, it's like, your whole body kind of cringes. Well, we're walking around full of water, and is our water within stagnant? And is it kind of creating that response for ourselves first and foremost? Or do we have these crystal clear waters that is like this beautiful spring water that's like attractive, right? Like people are drawn, like magnetized to connect, and are all hanging on your every word because you are speaking from an aligned place. And it's not from a place of, I think of like cut and paste. It's almost like it's just not even connected. So these organs within, it's like under a minute that it takes for the organ to excrete the energy, kind of like, again, like a download, like a surge of energy through the body. And then the mind is a problem solving organ. So the mind likes to problem solve, and it really loves job security, which we can all relate to. And if there's not a problem, then the mind may be out of work. So as soon as the organ is like, responds, right? That you saw the email and your like anxiety or fear or joy or whatever it is, the mind immediately is like, well, this is why, this is what we need to do. And when the mind goes, it just starts to basically be fuel. And it's like more anger. And then it's like, now I'm justified in my anger. And now I got to go tell so-and-so what happened and why I'm justified. And I'm actually a victim, and we're all victims. And there's a huge problem. And now all of our minds have plenty of work.
That is a brilliant example, and it happens every day.
Oh yeah.
All of us.
And the leaders are like, children, like, can everyone take a deep breath, clear out your waters? Because in less than a minute, if we just let that energy release and we go and let it ride the exhalation, and then all of a sudden it's gone, and I'm back, and I can go to the next email, and I can reply and say, I hear you. Thanks for letting me know. I trust that you've got this. I look forward to hearing from you at the end of the week with the outcome of how you're going to resolve this. I'm excited. I know you're creative, and I know you've got this.
Wow. I keep breathing a lot during this conversation. I'm like, you just reminded me of so many different people that I have done work with. I can think of so many examples. I'm curious, when you think about this work that you're doing with leaders and people in the workplace, share with us some transformative stories where people did really transform that energy. Are there a few people that are popping up in your mind?
Oh yeah. And they're archetypes.
Yeah.
Like, we're yes, I bow to each person's uniqueness, and let's get real. There's styles, there's archetypes. And the older we get, I love the wisdom of age. It's like, oh, I see that a mile away. Here, okay, we got another one of those, right? We got that role. I'm gonna the one that's coming to mind right now, that I've been working with recently, is just feeling like, how do I diffuse that toxic person in the room? And of course, I don't want to go right to the punchline, but it's like, well, what's toxic within you? You're seeing it through a toxic lens.
I knew you were going to say that, by the way.
Because you're you.
Come on.
Because it wouldn't be showing up if your rivers were clear. It wouldn't be. Because we're really, and not to get kind of out there, but it's like we truly all are one. And what I mean by that is we're all having a human experience, and we're living life, and we have this think about it. What are the struggles in life? There's only so many. What are the successes in life? There are only so many. We all have the same tools. We all have the same ingredients. And it depends on, it's like, am I going to pick up that tool and apply it? So this particular person, as I started working with her and her team, she was like, right out the gate, was like, you're going to just tell me to quit. I just need to let go of corporate America. I should just leave, but I just feel dependent. I have the income, and how am I going to replace that? And I've got a lifestyle, and I've got this, and I've created, now I feel boxed in, I'm trapped. And it's like, whoa, let's step back. Hold on a second. You have worked so hard to nail this job. to be in a position of where people look at you and respect you and are inspired by you. And I'm sorry, but you're going to let one person in the room that you're seeing through a toxic lens move your feet to the point that you're going to allow yourself to change your entire life. Now, if transformation is up for you and it's time for you to move on, then that's beautiful. But do we need to make a blanket statement and say corporate America is toxic? Okay, there's plenty. I know there's cases for yes and cases for no, but let's just step back from all of that and say, hold on. If I just throw in the towel and say, I can't do it, I'm overwhelmed, it's too much, it's not me, it's them. How is that going to show up in the next position, in the next town, in the next reality, in the next relationship? I say this is an opportunity to grow. And like, thank you, individual that I see through the toxic lens, because you're challenging me to evolve. And I don't know about anyone who's listening, but I'm on a path of evolution. And I love that I have opportunities that challenge me, just like a good workout. Once I push through and I don't give up, I feel great. And I feel so like proud in like a beautiful way. I would say not with arrogance, not with, and I don't know. I think a hint of arrogance sometimes is beautiful. I respect that.
You know, there's a couple of things that just struck me about that. So I am smiling because often when I'm in an interaction, this is in my personal life, and something comes up, then an old version of myself shows up and she's sitting next to me and she's often critical and telling me the things I didn't do, that did it, and then is trying to put the lens of a past experience on a current moment. So now I try to gently and kindly spar with her to say, oh, you're back again, Jeannie.
Yeah.
Guess what? This is not what it was. This is a new experience and a new opportunity. And yes, it's another development opportunity, which we hear that term a lot in the workplace, which is it's overplayed, but it's so true. This is just another opportunity to expand your capacity. And it's not easy, but that's the work we've chosen. If we've chosen to be on an evolutionary path, that's the table stakes. That's what you're involved in. And the other thing that was so interesting, and you've said this a couple of times, and I'm sure this is your martial arts training, is it a time to move your feet? So I would imagine that's if you've gotten to that place where you're going to move your feet, that sounds very important. Is that right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because that's the ultimate principle of martial arts. You've got someone coming in to take your spot on the coordinate, the grid, the 3D grid. Now, if I didn't give you permission to stand where I'm standing, then it's up to me to create my sacred boundaries and say, whoa, my biggest form of defense, first and foremost, is my intuition, knowing it before it happens. And that's not like, oh, I'm psychic, I can see things. And no, it's let's like not dismiss the apparent. We know how so-and-so shows up. And we know that this just got declined. It didn't get approved. So I'm going to expect that she's going to show up with this attitude or with this way of being. And if I respond in the same pattern, because nature loves patterns, if Mother Nature find a pattern that works, she's just going to keep replicating it. But if we want to evolve, we have to change that pattern, shed the past, and pivot and say, okay, I am now creating this new synchronistic energy line that I want to ride. And once I start zipping along like a zip line, right? Like once I catch that trolley line, all of a sudden everyone's like, whoa, I want to do that. I want to try the zip line. Like, where's she going? Like with non-action, with non-verbal, our intentions and the way that we respond are so much more powerful than we give it credit. Everyone's watching, everyone's witnessing, everyone's feeling. They may not be aware of it, but somewhere within their subconscious, they're responding. And if you're moving with ease, if you're transitioning with grace, you're stepping forward with power, and you've got clear sacred boundaries up, no one's moving your feet. You walk in the room and the whole vibe changes. And this is what Harvard Medical did the study years ago on heart rate variability. And the person with the highest heart rate variability, when they walk in the room, they change the vibe of the room. And we all think for a moment of someone that you know that is bigger than life. When they walk in the room, everyone kind of turns and smiles and has got to say something to them. And everyone's kind of like elbowing to get in there and like almost like jockeying to see who can connect with them first, right? And then think for a moment of that person that's got heavy energy that you're just like, oh gosh, here, I got to say hi because I know this person and I should be pleasant. Hi, like, oh, okay. But like you almost like don't want to be near that person because their heart rate variability is so low. And if you're have any level of depletion in you, it's like, I have nothing to give them right now. And there's an expectation that I give them, like, let's just put it in money from us. Like I have to give them $5 every time we exchange a smile. Like, here's my drop of energy for the day. Yep, I know. Every day I give you $5. Here it is. Like, getting old. Like, I don't have it to give today, but I'll pull from my reserves. Here you go. And when we start to notice those people in our life, we can start to emulate those that have that energy. We can start to study and practice. Like, how can I show up like that? Wait. They show up, they're put together, they're on time or maybe a little early. They've got what they need to thrive. And I'm not feeling that for myself. So what small shifts can I make so that when I show up, people are turn and smile? And I don't need everyone to love me and admire me in that sense for my ego, but it's more like, I'm bringing clear water to the meeting. I'm bringing that refreshing, like tonic, elixir of life, right?
Clear water. I mean, that's another great soundbite from this conversation. It's the blessings, it's the spells. Are you bringing clear water? Have you adjusted your footing? Why have you adjusted your foot? This is brilliant. This is so relatable to anybody, whether you're managing, you're leading, you're an entrepreneur, you're running a business. It's so powerful, everything that you're talking about. Thanks to everybody for listening to another episode of Warriors at Work and letting us be a part of your warrior journey. You can ask questions and make suggestions for future topics at jc@jeanniecoomber.com. Connect with me personally on LinkedIn and Instagram and join us on the Warrior Conversations channel on YouTube and at the Warrior Magic Community page on Facebook. You can find links to all these places on my website, jeanniecoomber.com. And most importantly, be sure to tell friends about us, subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, Spreaker, and Spotify. It helps others find the show and puts more warrior magic out into the world.